God, the most merciful, the most beneficent. On December 10th, 2014, Malala Yousafzai started her Nobel lecture in this way. She continues to share her life story, girls not receiving the correct education, and how she demands a change. Her speech touches on the widespread issues between young Pakistani women being forced into marriages, not being culturally appropriate for them to receive an education, and for them to hopefully come out of their shells and start speaking for themselves. So when and where? So it was given December 10th, 2014, a few weeks before she found out in her chemistry class because she was only awarded the prize when she was 17 years old. It was given in Oslo, Norway, at the Nobel Prize banquet. Not only were her family members, supporters, and people she's worked with before present, but there was also many big people, there was royalty, there was the Nobel Prize committee, and this speech was basically for her to show why she was given the prize and that they shouldn't regret giving it to her. The purpose behind her speech was to basically share how girls are deserving of an education. That was the main part of it, but then she also touches on children not being forced into marriages, because that was pretty normal in Pakistan, and how the Taliban took control over her country, and how once she was 10 she wasn't able to receive an education anymore, and how many rules started to come about, how even if you went against their new rules the punishments would be worse. And it also is just in hopes to break the barrier between both genders and hopefully be treated with equity and equality from moving on from her speech. So the significance to history is that it showed that your age should never stop you from anything. Because she was only awarded this when she was 17, she's trying to share that you can do anything at any age. Because we're always told your elders know more, they should speak on topics, but I feel if you have enough wisdom on something and you've gone through it, that you are able to speak on it. And then also it showed that many women can use their voices, because not only did she break a gender barrier, she also an age gap barrier, to show you don't need to be a man to have this role or earn this prize, and you don't need to be a specific age to do it. Shows that you can do things whenever. And then significant to today, because there's now a project up in her name called the Malala Foundation, which basically gives girls 12 years of a quality, equal, and safe education. And she's definitely left as an inspiration for many young women, and it shows that there's an end in sight to girls not getting the proper education, because her foundation is helping us move forward with it and not backwards. I have her clip here.
Malala Yousafzai, I call upon
of its necessities. That has been my experience during the 17 years of my life. In my paradise home Swat, I always loved learning and discovering new things. I remember when my friends and I would decorate our hands with henna on special occasions. And instead of drawing flowers and patterns, we would paint our hands with mathematical formulas and equations. We had a thirst for education. We had a thirst for education because our future was right there in that classroom. We would sit and learn and read together. We loved to wear neat and tidy school uniforms. And we would sit there with big dreams in our eyes. We wanted to make our parents proud and prove that we could also excel in our studies and achieve those goals which some people think only boys can.
Okay, I really like that part of her speech because she emphasizes that what all she did during school and how she really like loved school and how it wasn't right for it to be taken away from her because it is like a basic human right, and how like not only boys are deserving of this. Some rhetorical devices she used. So the first one says, "I am here to stand up for their rights to raise their voice." This is a sit-in, and it basically is like emphasizing their rights for their voice to show that she's not doing this for herself. She's not doing it for just her people because her foundation is up for everybody all around the world. The second one here says, "Thank you for my father for not clipping my wings and for letting me fly." This is a metaphor. She's basically saying that like she thanks her father because her father really like pushed to make sure she had an education and was treated just like a boy like would be in Pakistan. So I feel like her father was like the start of maybe her like love to push to get her rights, and then just for letting her fly in a sense of like giving her the information, giving her the resources she needs to have that foundation. And then this also in here says, "Let this be the first generation that decides to be the last that sees empty classrooms, lost childhoods, and wasted potentials." This one is an antithesis. She's basically like combining the two generations or two different groups and saying that since the last one didn't have it, let's make this first one, this new one, the first one to have it. Then I have ethos, pathos, and logos. So ethos she uses at the beginning of her speech by addressing everyone as like elders, brothers, and sisters, and it gives everybody like a welcoming environment to like want to agree with her more throughout her speech. Pathos is when she speaks on how the women and girls are treated in Pakistan, because she doesn't really leave anything out. She leaves how she was treated, how like the people around her were treated, and it kind of like pulls in your emotions because you see like really what's happening because it's not talked about enough. And then logos uses how she was first-handed treated by the Taliban and how like they basically like kind of took away her childhood from her and her education. And then while this endures, so I think this speech won't be relevant until sexism just like isn't a problem anymore, which it's still a very relevant issue. So I think we're gonna like look back at this and compare like how this is maybe moving us in the correct direction. And then it also helps give many people a voice, no matter like your age or gender. Today I talked about Malala's Nobel Prize speech. Thank you for listening.